Jonas Savimbi was an Angolan revolutionary, politician and rebel military leader who formed and led National Union for Total Independence of Angola, UNITA. He was born on 3rd August 1934 in Mohango, a small town on the Banguela Railway, to Lotte Savimbi and Helena Mbundu Savimbi. He was a member of Ovimbudu tribe. Savimbi attended many Protestant schools where he strived academically. At the age of 24. He received a scholarship to study in Portugal, where he finished his secondary school in medicine. During his time in Portugal, Savimbi became involved in politics, which made him to get imprisoned thrice, and he left the country secretly with the head of Portuguese Communist Party network and sheltered by the French Communist Party. He flew back for a scholarship from missionaries that enabled him to resume his studies in Switzerland. Savimbi made a decision to leave the study of medicine partly because he considered the freeing of Angolans from Portugal as his country's most important priority, so he transferred to the University of Lausanne to study political science and law and graduated in 1965. In the early 1960s, Savimbi flirted with various Angolan independence movements, at one point joining the Marxist Party, the Movement for the Popular Liberation of Angola, MPLA. However, following the encouragement from Jomo Kenyatta, Savimbi joined the Union of Angola People, UPA, in 1961. He became the Secretary General. The following year, the UPA, Angola Democratic Party, formed the National Front for Liberation of Angola, FNLA. In this party, Savimbi became the foreign minister of the new organization's government of the Republic of Angola in exile before resigning in 1964 over disagreement with the founder, Heldon Roberto's leadership style. He accused the leadership of this organization of tribalism and being CIA agents. By 1965. Jonas Savimbi started contemplating on forming his own movement, went to seek support for it from China, where his comrades obtained military training, especially in guerrilla tactics. In 1966, Savimbi formed the UNITA as his political unit. This movement was formed on 13th March 1966 inside Angola at the village of Muyango in Moxco province. The organization began armed actions against Portuguese on the ground on 25th December 1966. UNITA became the third political movement in Angola's independence campaign, besides their rival, the FNLA and MPLA. Savimbi was a charismatic leader who spoke several languages and mobilized many people with his oratory power. They started raiding the important sites like the Banguela Railroad, which was a strategic line for the Portuguese. Later on, he started collaborating with the Portuguese military to fight his rivals to MPLA. This was revealed in the French magazine in 1974, which gave Savimbi a very huge blow to his credibility as a nationalist leader. As time progressed, due to Savimbi's stronghold to the nation, the Portuguese dictatorship was overthrown in a military coup in 1974. He emerged from a guerrilla war to cease fire with the new leaders and signed an agreement with the other Angola's liberation parties in 1975 known as the Alva Accords, and they granted Angola independence with Agostinho Neto of FNLA and Holden Roberto of the MPLA to come together and help their fellow citizens in a peaceful transition of independence, and Angola became independent on 11th November 1975. Peace never happened, but just there broke out the 27-year Angola bloody civil war. After the disintegration of the Alva Accord, a quick and bitter power struggle evolved evolved as the MPLA launched themselves the new government of Angola when the UNITA protest. The MPLA called in its hidden troops and raised Soviet-manufactured weapons to maintain power. Soon Savimbi was on the war, retreated to his base in Rango in Central Highlands. Despite the assault on UNITA, Savimbi was not easily beaten and he attracted and constructed a new army, pointing out to his new followers that Angola had only traded the domination by the Portuguese for domination by the Soviet. This war attracted the attention of the apartheid government in South Africa. Using South Africa's weapons, soldiers and training, Savimbi was able to organize powerful and effective guerrilla wars. He established his new base at Jamba, near the Namibian border under the protection of South Africa's military shield. By mid-1980s, Savimbi's forces had held vast stretches of territories from which they harassed government installations, railway lines and supply lines. In 1975, under the help of Henry Kissinger of USA, UNITA was given around $25 million military assistance. It is reported that UNITA carried out a reign of terror consisting of poor acts such as public burning of women said to be witches. Inside UNITA, Savimbi maintained an iron rule by using his curious charisma and by eliminating all potential leadership contenders. Many of his close associates who challenged him were either killed or imprisoned on his orders. After a long period of this bitter war, initial efforts for reconciliations began. In June 1989, Badolite Summit was organized by Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire. Savimbi and José dos Santos, who was the leader of MPLA and president of Angola, met for the first time. Eventually, on 31st May 1991, the rival leaders signed the Bases Accords in front of the key international leadership. In September 1991, Savimbi went back to Luanda, the capital of Angola. He accepted to take part in the elections of September 1992 and were to be supervised by the UN, but after failing to win the elections, he went back to the bush and set a war between October 1992 to October 1993. This war created 77,000 amputations. This war ended by signing the Lusaka Protocol in 1994. On 20th November 1994, Savimbi signed this treaty to bring an end to this phase of the war, but in reality, he never accepted it. And in 1998, full-scale fighting resumed, and this went up to 22nd February 2002, when Savimbi finally died while still fighting Angolan government in Mexico province, and he was hurriedly buried. 17 years later, in 2019, Savimbi's remains were exhumed in January that year to give him a dignified funeral and burial, and he was reburied in May 2019. NAKAYIWA SHARIFAH.